In this video, I will show you feedback in Project Designer. We will see what feedback is, what you can do with feedback, how to create a device with feedback, how to set up feedback for Projector, how to work with a motion sensor and key lock, and how to act on I/O pin changes. So what is feedback? It is the ability to listen for changes in your setup and act on the changes. This can be done by asking devices in your system what their status is, and then acting on their reply. Or by just listening for changes on RS-232, your network or I/O pins. So what can we do with the feedback we get? In Project Editor we were limited to some basic replies, like power status and source status, and acting on this to match the status. In Project Designer it is just smarter. We still have the ability to ask for a status, and act on the reply. But we are not limited to the type of status we can ask for. We can also just listen for changes and act on that. Or act on an I/O pin change. And the best part is that there is more freedom on how to act on a reply or change. To take advantage of all these new features, then you need to update your device drivers, so you get all the feedback requests that you need. Your current device drivers with reply will be automatically updated when used in Project Designer. Let me show you how to create feedback in your device driver. I have opened Neets Device Editor and loaded a device driver. The most important thing is looking at the device version. It needs to be version 2.20 for you to have the feedback option available. Older versions will be automatically updated when used in Project Designer 1.2. And 2.20 devices will automatically be downgraded when used in Project Editor 2.97. You can create feedback for RS-232, RS-485 and LAN. In this case we will create feedback for RS-232. You find device feedback at the bottom of the list. Click Add Feedback here, or from the menu at the top. You need to give your sequence a descriptive name. This one will be for power status. This is the view of your feedback. Here is your power status request that you just created. And this is the settings for the replies to this request. Let's have a look at the behavior. This can be request for, or listen for. Depending if you need to ask for a status and wait for a reply, or you just need to listen for an update. Here we will use the request for. Next we need to enter the request command. Then we need to set up the replies we can get for this request. The first reply has automatically been given a name. But when we have selected it, then we get the option to rename it. Now that it has been renamed, then we will enter the reply. Add in another replay can be done from the menu. This is the reply we get when the device is on. So I will link it to the on sequence. Now, I will continue to add replies. The replies has been added, and linked to the correct sequences. Now we can continue to add more feedback request. We can add a volume request. The volume's reply is a number, so we will change the data type to number range. I will just rename the reply. Now we can enter the reply. Now the reply begins with VOL equals, and then the value that we are interested in. So we have entered the first 4 bytes, and the byte offset has been set to 4. So the value will be found after the 4 bytes. Next we link it to our volume sequence. Then we need to set some properties for the value we receive. There is many combinations here, and the settings depends on the type of reply you get. In this case the value is a string. The format is decimal. No thousand separators is used. No, the volume can go from 1 to 255. 1 byte per number, so that will be maximum 3 bytes. Last is the range. That is it for the volume reply. Here I have created a feedback for lamp time. The data type here is time. The value type is a string. Format is decimal. No thousand separator. Now the time format. We can set it as hours, minutes or seconds. In this case, the reply it is hours. By knowing the time format, then the software can convert from seconds to hours when you later use the feedback in Project Designer. Now for number of bytes used in this feedback, then I guess that it is not more than 5, but I will just select unknown. That is it for the lamp feedback. Now I will add the rest of the request for feedbacks, and then show you the listen for. I have now added the rest of the request for feedback. And we are only missing the listen for. So click on Add Feedback. We will listen for errors. As this is not a request for, we have to change the behavior to listen for. You can see that you no longer have a request sequence. So we only need to set up your reply. You can add more replies to listen for if you like. Last thing we need to do is look at the feedback timing. Feedback has a delay between each feedback request is sent. So not all the request is sent on top of each other. Let me show you how this works. The feedback delay can have an impact on how often your request is being sent. Here we have a delay of 1 second. Each line represents 1 second. Here we add 3 feedbacks to our project. Each feedback is set to update every 3 seconds. First request is sent, and there is a delay of 3 seconds before we will ask again. Before we send the next request, we wait for 1 second. Next request is sent, and we wait another second. Last request is sent, and a second later we can send the first request again. But if we add another request, then the timing is shifted. And the first request will only be sent every 4 seconds. So we need to set the delay correctly, and not ask too often for feedback we do not need. Like lamp time. So we can lower the delay for this device, as it is able to handle the requests. And if we go back to device feedback, then we can update the intervals, so less important feedback has a longer interval. Last thing to remember on feedback delay and interval, is that feedback is paused for your device, when your device is busy. Like power up time and the time it takes to change a source. Feedback on other devices will not be paused. The device is now ready for use. So let us have a look at how we can use it in Project Designer. Here I have opened Project Designer, and I have already added the device we created. But I still need to add some peripherals to the project. First I will add a movement sensor. And set the movement timeout to 10 minutes. Next I will add a keyboard lock. It is locked when the I/O is low. Last I will add an I/O input. I will use this input as a light switch. Now that we have added all our devices, then we can have a look at the interface. I have already created a simple iPhone layout, with 3 different pages. This page is used when keyboard lock is active. and this is used when an error has been detected. Let us have a look at the functions. First, the power button. This is a toggle button. Where the first button press powers up the projector and activates the screen. And the second press powers the projector off and activates the screen to go up. The source buttons also powers the projector on, if it is not already on, and then sets the correct source on the projector. The screen is also activated. And the button appearance is set on the different buttons. The light button activates the relay on the first button press, and deactivates it again on the second press. The screen control is a simple screen up or down control. Now we will have a look at the new feedback work area. To the left we have the input triggers, such as the feedback from our devices, and our I/O inputs. In the center is where we have our current feedback triggers. We can drop triggers here to create new feedback triggers. To the left we have functions, and to the right we have device sequences that can be used when a feedback is triggered. Let us create a feedback for the projector. We will use the power trigger. This is the properties for this feedback trigger. Here you can set the name. And here is what it triggers on. Here we will set it to trigger when the reply is equal to lamp on. So if the reply on the power request is equal to lamp on, then this will trigger the function or sequences we drop here. Here we can change the power button, so it max the power on state. This also changes the toggle of the button. Now we can add another trigger. This trigger is for when the power is off. That is the power on and off triggers. I can also add a trigger on warm up, so the screen will go down when the projector warms up. Remember, you may not get the warm up and cool down feedback when you have powered on or off the projector from the control system, as the feedback is paused when the device is busy. But the triggers is still useful when the projector is powered on or off directly on the device. Here I have added the cool down trigger. Next we can add a trigger on the source. This is a trigger for computer 1. That is VGA1 in the layout. So I set the VGA1 button as active, and the other source buttons as gray. As the projector we use has two different replies for the same input, then I have set up triggers for both replies, and set them both to activate the VGA1 button. I have added the rest of the source triggers. And we can now add the last trigger for the projector. So when we receive an error from the projector, then we will jump page to the error page. Here the error is received, and then the page changes. I give the option to click return, so you can get back to the main screen. Next is our keyboard lock. When it is locked, then it should jump to lock page. I added an unlock trigger that goes back to the home page. Here the keyboard is locked. Any NEB, I/O or graphical keys will be disabled. And we trigger on the feedback and change the page. When unlocked, then we change back. Next we will set up the movement sensor. When no movement has been detected for 10 minutes, then I want it to switch off the projector and set the screen to go up. Here it is set to run up, so I just click OK. Last trigger is the I/O input, that will switch the light on or off. We trigger when the I/O is low. Here we can simply press the graphical button for the light. By using the press button function, then it is like pressing the graphical button. And it will toggle the light just like it would when you press the graphical button. Thanks for watching. Find more information on neets.dk.